In the very beginning, before time began, there was only God. There was no earth, no stars, no ski, just darkness and the endless presence of the Almighty. Then God spoke. With just a word, he commanded light to shine, and light appeared. He looked upon the light and saw that it was good. To mark the passage of time, he separated the light from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. And thus the first day came to be. God continued his mighty work, shaping the waters and creating a vast space above them. This he named the sky. The next day, he gathered the waters below so that dry land could appear. He named the land earth, and the gathered waters seas. Then he called forth vegetation, lush green grass, blooming plants, and fruitful trees, all able to reproduce through their seeds. Creation was beginning to take shape, and God was pleased. On the fourth day, God lit up the sky. He placed the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night, scattering stars across the heavens like diamonds. These lights were to guide time, days, seasons, and years. The heavens were now alive with purpose and beauty. God saw it all and was filled with satisfaction at the masterpiece unfolding before him. Next, God turned his attention to the sea and the sky. He filled the oceans with creatures of all kinds, mighty whales, swift fish, and all swimming things. The skies fluttered with birds of every color and sound. He blessed them, telling them to multiply and fill their realms. The earth was beginning to move and breathe with life. The rhythm of creation continued in perfect harmony. Then came the land animals, livestock, wild beasts, and creeping things, each made according to their kind. But God had saved his most special creation for last. With his own hands he formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed life into him. The man became a living soul. This man, named Adam, was made in God's image and given authority over all creation. And with that, the sixth day drew to a close. Life in the garden. After creating the heavens, the earth, and everything in them, God rested on the seventh day. He blessed that day and made it holy, for his work was complete. But while creation was finished, God's plan for humanity was just beginning. He had prepared a special place, a beautiful garden in a region called Eden. It was filled with every kind of tree, each one pleasant to look at and bearing delicious fruit. In the center of the garden stood two special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God placed Adam in this garden to care for it and enjoy its beauty. A river flowed through Eden, watering the land and spreading into 4 mighty streams. Everywhere was rich, fresh, and alive. Birds sang in the trees, and animals roamed freely. Adam walked among them with ease. God gave him freedom to eat from any tree in the garden, except one. Of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he was warned never to eat. If he did, God said, he would surely die. Adam lived in harmony with nature, but something was missing. He was alone. Though surrounded by animals, there was no one like him, no companion suitable for sharing life. So God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep. While he slept, God took one of his ribs and formed a woman. She was beautiful, graceful, and perfect for Adam. When he awoke and saw her, his heart was full. "She is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," he said. Together, they lived without shame or fear. They were naked, yet they felt no embarrassment. There was no guilt, no pain, no sadness. Everything they needed was provided. They laughed, explored, and cared for the garden as a team. God walked with them in the cool of the day, and they enjoyed his presence without fear. The world was pure, and their love was innocent and free. God blessed them and told them to be fruitful, to multiply, and to fill the earth. He gave them authority over all creatures, every bird, beast, and fish. They were made in his image, and their union reflected his design. Adam and Eve were the first family, the beginning of all mankind. But something waited in the shadows. A test was coming, one that would change everything. The temptation in the midst of Eden's beauty. Danger crept silently, Among all the creatures God had made, one was cunning above the rest, the serpent. It was clever and smooth, knowing just how to twist words and plant doubt. One day, while Eve wandered near the center of the garden, the serpent approached her. It did not hiss or strike, but spoke gently, with false concern in its voice. "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Eve replied truthfully. "We may eat from the trees, but there is one we must not touch or eat from, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God said if we do, we will surely die." The serpent leaned closer, its eyes gleaming. "You will not surely die," it said. "God knows that when you eat from that tree, your eyes will be opened, and you will become like him, knowing good and evil." The serpent's words lingered in Eve's heart, stirring curiosity and pride. She looked at the tree again. Its fruit was bright and appealing. The more she gazed, the more she desired it. What harm could come from knowing more, she thought. Why would God hide something good from us? Her hand reached out slowly. She plucked the fruit, took a bite, and tasted it. Nothing happened at first. No thunder, no fall from the sky. So she brought the fruit to Adam, and he ate as well. The moment they ate, their eyes were opened, but not in the way they expected. Suddenly, shame filled them. They saw their nakedness and felt exposed and afraid. Quickly, they gathered leaves and stitched them together to cover themselves. The peace they once knew was gone. Their hearts beat fast with guilt, and the joy of innocence faded. As evening came, they heard the sound of God walking in the garden. Panic swept over them, and they hid among the trees. "Adam, where are you?" God called. Trembling, Adam answered, "I heard you and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." God's voice grew heavy. "Who told you that you were naked? Did you eat from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" And just like that, the truth could no longer be hidden. The judgment standing before God, Adam felt small and ashamed. Unable to take responsibility, he pointed to Eve. "The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it." Eve, in turn, looked at the serpent and said, "The serpent deceived me. He told me I would not die. He made me believe it was good." The chain of blame stretched from one to another, but God saw through every excuse. The truth was clear. Disobedience had entered the perfect world. God turned to the serpent first. "Because you have done this," he said, "you are cursed above all creatures. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all your days." But then, with powerful words, he gave a glimpse of hope. He declared that one day, a descendant of the woman would rise, a savior, who would crush the serpent's head, though the serpent would strike his heel. It was the first promise of redemption, hidden within the sorrow. Then God turned to Eve. "Because you listened to the serpent," he said, "you will suffer pain in childbirth. Your love will be for your husband, but he will rule over you." The balance of perfect unity was broken. What was once effortless would now be marked by struggle. Eve's role as a mother and wife would be beautiful but painful, just as Adam's task of working the earth would no longer be easy. To Adam, God said, "Because you listened to your wife and disobeyed my command, the ground is cursed because of you. You will work it in sorrow and sweat all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles will grow. You will eat by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return." The joy of tending Eden was replaced by toil and hardship. Death had entered the world. Yet even in judgment, God showed mercy. He made clothes for Adam and Eve, garments from animal skins to cover their shame. It was the first shedding of blood to cover sin, but they could no longer remain in the garden. If they ate from the tree of life in their fallen state, they would live forever in brokenness. So God drove them out of Eden and placed angels with flaming swords to guard the entrance and the tree. The paradise was lost, but hope had been planted. Life beyond Eden banished from the garden. Adam and Eve walked into a world that felt colder and harder than before. The vibrant colors of Eden faded into the wild and untamed lands. For the first time, they had to build, gather, dig, and protect themselves. The ground resisted their labor. Weeds grew where flowers once bloomed, and sweat poured from Adam's brow. Life was no longer effortless. But even as they toiled, they remembered the beauty of Eden and the voice of God. Eve carried life within her, and in pain, she gave birth to their first child. They named him Cain. Later, she gave birth to Abel. With each child came both joy and sorrow. Raising a family in a broken world was not easy. The consequences of their choice echoed in every step, in every age. Yet, they passed on the stories of the beginning, the days of light, the voice of God, the garden of wonder, and the promise of hope. Though separated from the presence of God as they once knew it, Adam and Eve still worshipped him. They offered sacrifices and taught their children to honor the Creator. But even among their sons, the seed of sin had taken root. Jealousy rose in Cain's heart, and tragedy struck when he killed his brother Abel. Sin had not only entered the world, it had begun to spread. The pain of that loss crushed Eve's spirit, and Adam mourned deeply. Their hearts longed for the peace they had lost. Still, the story was not over. God, in his mercy, gave them another son, Seth. Through Seth's line, the promise God had spoken in Eden would continue. Generations would pass, kings and prophets would rise and fall, and the world would wait for the one who would crush the serpent's head. Though humanity walked in darkness, the light of hope still flickered. God had not forgotten his creation. And so, from dust and disobedience, the great story of redemption began. The fall of man was not the end, but the beginning of God's plan to rescue and restore. From Eden's gate to distant lands, from altars of stone to a cross on a hill, the journey would continue. God had created man in his image, and though that image was marred by sin, his love never changed. In the end, the same voice that said, "Let there be light," would declare, "It is finished." From the beauty of Eden to the heartbreak of the fall, the story of mankind is just beginning. Join us on Erapulse Bible Stories as we journey through the Bible, not as scattered verses, but as one powerful, connected story of God's love, justice, and redemption. Don't just watch, be part of the story. Subscribe, like, and share to help spread the message of truth and hope. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, because even from dust, God is still writing beauty. Welcome to Erapulse Bible Stories, where every story matters.